now, and the recording will be available in the next 24 to 48 hours. It'll be posted online and through Meetup. I'll send you a link to that recording in case you want to revisit what Sharon's going over this evening. And as I mentioned, Sharon's going to be teaching us about WordPress Elementor Starter template. We'll be learning how to create a WordPress Elementor environment that you can use over and over. And I do this. I know a lot of people do this, save some time in spinning up a site to have it all kind of set up for you. And you feel confident and ahead of the game when starting a new project by using your WordPress Elementor Starter template and set up your new clients' websites quickly and efficiently. So look forward to that. And as time permits, afterwards, we'll have an Elementor Q&A session. And we encourage people who have some Elementor knowledge to jump in and help if somebody has a question. And after that, we'll wrap things up. So I think at this point, I'm going to turn it over to Sharon, unless anybody has any questions. Oh, Natasha asked, will we share the slide deck? I think, Sharon, would you be able to do that?
So, Natasha and Carrie, I do have a slide deck, but it just covers like the first portion, and then there's a live demo. So yes, I can share the slide deck, but the video would probably be better.
Gotcha. Okay. I'm still alert as soon as I log out on the camera. Okay, cool. All righty. Well, I think we are good for you to start your presentation, Sharon. So take it away. Let me stop sharing my screen so that you can do yours.
Yeah, let me make sure I have everything going so I can get the appropriate. Okay. All right. Make sure. So, Carrie, do you see my presentation mode or do you see another screen?
I see WordPress Elementor Starter template. Looks good.
Okay, perfect. I just want to make sure the settings are correct. Which screen this is on.
I hear you.
I know. Two screens are nice, but it's not nice when you're trying to make sure you have the right presentation on the right screen. Okay, well, thank you, Carrie and everyone, for allowing me to join you tonight. I'm very honored to be here and sharing with you. And let me get this going here. Make sure. Okay, as Carrie said, I'm Sharon Yates, and I have been working in the web industry for 25 years or more. I probably won't admit more, but yes, that does mean I started right in the early days of the web. And I have my own business that I run, and also part of the Elementor expert group. And I do run the Elementor Dallas Meetup. And I also am passionate about scuba diving and travel, so I also run a group as well. That's probably where my main activities are, as well as doing some work. As you can tell, I try to get out of work by doing the travel thing a lot. And yes, that is a great white shark behind me. That's one of my I do love sharks, and the great white is my favorite. So we are going to talk about creating a starter template. And I don't see everybody on my screen, but for those that I do see, let me just ask, has anyone created their own starter templates? I know Carrie does, and he and I talked about being in the same group almost. But if you have, raise your hand. Is this part of your workflow, or is this kind of unknown to all of you? So, no, I'm not getting any reaction. Doug's raised his hand. Is that an unknown, Doug? Yes or no? Um,
I think Guy sort of waved his hand a little bit there.
Okay.
I got like a handful of plugins I always start with, but that's about as far as it goes.
Okay. All right. That's a good start, though. The handful of plugins is actually kind of what encouraged me to do this as well. But growing up with the web in the old days, we learned to reuse a lot of things, which is commonly called libraries. And if you've worked in the industry as long as I have, you try to reuse a lot of things and make your workflow go faster. So when I started in WordPress, the same thing occurred to me as well. Why would I want to create a new client's website over and over again when I can just create one template that has the basic materials that I want to use, basic tools and plugins. So that's what we're going to do. But before you do that, you have to decide, where are you going to develop your work? So obviously one available to you is your local environment, which is your computer, and the other is a hosted environment. So we're going to talk about that first before we actually create a template, because I'm going to try to give you some advice on doing one or the other. So for a local development environment, regardless of whether you're on a Mac or a PC, and I've always been a PC person, so I don't know everything about the Mac. I have worked on a Mac, but like I said, I've always been a PC person, so I've stuck with that. But for Mac people, this is commonly known as XAMPP. It's kind of putting together a bunch of stuff that is required to run a web server, which is, most of us use Apache, and there's other servers. I've worked on Microsoft servers and Apache and Linux. So there's several out there, but the most commonly known for local environments, you're going to hear XAMPP or WAMP server. Excuse me, my nose is itchy all of a sudden. So I've listed a link here for Mac users where you can go and find how to install this. And the coolest guides on the planet actually has an instruction guide, because I don't even know what version the Mac is in now. I kind of try to keep up. I have several friends that use Macs, but I don't even know what version you guys are in. But this site, the coolest guides on the planet, you could probably find the latest details there. So they will help you go through installing and configuring the Apache. You're going to be using Apache as your web server, MySQL, PHP, and PHPMyAdmin. These are the things required to run WordPress. And then web server for PC people, the same thing. And it's very easy to, at least on the PC side, it's very easy, because we have just, or you could choose to do every installation, every little piece on your own, or you can choose an executable file. I choose the executable file. I don't need to be wasting my time doing every little detail. So you can pick and choose what you want to do. But here's the one tip I have about working locally is, when you work locally, you'll have to learn how to create and manage virtual hosts on your environment. And virtual hosts means that when you have more than one website, you can't use the same web address all the time, because everybody knows your local host is 127.0.0.01. So you have to learn how to edit your host file and be able to add different working spaces for yourself. So that's one thing that you need to know if you are going to do a local development environment. And there are, I would say, some other things you should be aware of, but not like anything that would keep you from doing it. I have done it before. It's not that big of a deal. It's just some things that you have to take care of. So now let's go to the hosted environment, which there are, let me get my thoughts together. There are like three different areas of this that we're going to look at. And this is the most important decision you can make as it pertains to you or your clients, whoever you're doing this for. I'm assuming most of us are working with clients, but your own website as well, because if you're working with clients, you probably have a website. So I'm here to tell you that your business deserves the best, and a managed WordPress host is going to give you that competitive edge. So first off, I'm going to explain how the managed WordPress hosting is different than a shared or a do-it-yourself DIY hosting. And to best explain this, like I said, we're breaking down the general online population into three hosting scenarios. And that's the shared WordPress hosting, which is the most common that you see, the cheap ad commercials, GoDaddy, Site or HostGator, SiteGround, all of those we're going to kind of review. So let's start with the shared WordPress hosting first. This is known as the first crowd area. Is typically people just starting out who choose to go with a low-cost shared WordPress hosting. And like I said, these include businesses like GoDaddy, Bluehost, HostGator, SiteGround, etc. Usually these are the people who are building their first website. They're migrating away from WordPress.com. They're on a strict budget, need to keep things as cheap as possible, or someone that doesn't understand the differences between the different types of hosting, and therefore simply making a decision based on price. And I would say this is very common. People make a decision based on price. They're just going to go with the cheapest there is. So keep this in mind. When it comes to shared hosting, you usually get what you pay for. Also, no matter how you do the math, after expenses, a $3 a month website, shared hosting isn't actually generating any revenue for the hosting company, especially when you attribute support into that. One support ticket and they're already in the red. The way a shared host makes a lot of their money is on upselling and hidden fees. So these upsells include things like migrations, domain registrations, renewal fees, even SSL certificates, which you shouldn't even have to buy SSL anymore. Most of the web or good web hosts are going to supply the SSL certificate. So to make more money, most hosts offer what they call their unlimited resources plan. You probably have seen this. Well, there's no such thing in the real world as unlimited resources. So what hosts will do is throttle the clients using up a lot of the resources. Well, what this does in turn is ends up with those angry clients. They leave, which makes room for more clients that don't use a lot of resources. So in the end, you have a vicious cycle of the hosting company pushing cheap plans, signing up customers who they hope won't use a lot of resources, and they will purchase the upsells. So it's all about volume. So also, because the plan is so cheap, this usually forces the hosts to overcrowd their servers to consolidate resources. So even though you don't know it, your website might be on the same server as 500 plus other people. So any performance issues that pop up with other sites can in turn affect your site. You can combine everything mentioned above that I said here: upselling, hidden fees, no such thing as unlimited, all about volume, overcrowded servers. You can combine all this, and what do you get? You basically get slow performance and bad support. Shared hosts have to spread their teams way too thin, which results in long ticket times and subpar customer service. I'm going to give y'all a little story. So I took over a client. Actually, they were one of my, I would say, my first biggest client that I've ever had. I mean, I've had a lot of small clients, not doing really big with WooCommerce. That's what I specialize in, is e-commerce sites. But this client, they were in need of rescuing, basically, because they had been, I guess, with some people that said that they could do their website, and but basically they just got the runaround. And by the time they got to me, they had moved their site to GoDaddy, and I think once I took a look at everything, because my first initial task that I did for them is to review everything, because we just didn't know what shape their website was in. They sold online courses, which is in the medical industry. So it's kind of important that their website was up all the time, because they need to sell their courses. And anyway, I did an initial review. They were on a shared hosting, which you don't want, especially for a WooCommerce site. You don't want to be on a shared hosting at all. So that was a big flag for me. Of course, their website had a lot of damage in it and needed to be repaired. So long story short, after moving, let's see, I kind of have a soft heart sometimes. So I didn't want to move them from GoDaddy, even though that was my first instinct to tell them to get off of GoDaddy. But I felt so sorry for them. I told them, well, you shouldn't be on GoDaddy, but since you invested all this money, because I think they had signed like a 3-year contract on GoDaddy or something like that. So yeah, yeah. I mean, you just get to where your heartstrings just get tugged on, right? You know the best thing to do, but you don't do it because, oh no, it's like, I just dreaded telling them, you don't want to be here. You don't want to do this. Well, anyway, I kept them there, but I did change them. I worked with GoDaddy to get them on a better hosting plan, which was what GoDaddy considered their business plan. Eventually, I mean, I kept them up and running for a while, but eventually, which was this year, and it was recently, I did deal with this. Their site just disappeared, went down. And I'm sitting, my client, of course, is calling me, asking me why their website's down. I'm like, oh my God, what, you gotta be kidding me. So of course, I had to go figure out what was wrong. And of course, it led me to GoDaddy. And I called GoDaddy and trying to figure out what's happening. Of course, first thing GoDaddy does is blames the client for the website being down. They told me that, the client did something, it's probably their content. It's probably their content why the site went down. And I'm sitting there arguing with them. I'm saying, I can tell you it's not their content. There's no way it's their content. And then they gave me another excuse. Well, maybe they used all their resources. I said, excuse me, first of all, if they did use all their resources, I would have known it. I said, secondly, don't you notify us, since I'm a contact, he's on your contact plan, somebody should have been notified, you're using up their resources. And so, of course, I debunked them on that one. And then they gave me another excuse. Well, I didn't want excuses. I wanted the site back up. So, of course, obviously, my client wanted their site back up. Of course, they could not tell me when the site would be back up. They just told me, well, we have to look at it and figure out why the site's down. I'm like, you gotta be kidding me. So kind of where my presentation is going, what you get is what you pay for. And I have to say, yes, their support was good. I mean, I did get somebody on the phone. It wasn't like they ignored our calls and stuff. But I could tell that their server people didn't know what they were talking about. Now, granted, I have had a lot of experience with servers. I don't care to, but I have, in the very beginning of my career, I dealt a lot with servers. So I knew, I know quite a bit. And I have to say, they didn't. So I spent 2 days of my own time pulling their website back together on another server. So you don't want to do that. So never, ever go to GoDaddy. That's what I'm trying to tell you out of that story. Don't go to GoDaddy. Don't ever host with GoDaddy. So that's my story. So a DIY, do it yourself. If you want to do tinkering or whatever, this is the second crowd of people. It's usually typically bootstrap startups and people with a little bit more development or WordPress experience. I wouldn't say you need WordPress experience to do it yourself, but you do need server experience. You need to understand, why are you wanting to take this on? So this is the DIY crowd. These folks are typically still trying to save money, but they are also usually concerned with performance and realize its importance in the success of their business. So the DIY approach can be great, but it can also backfire on you if you aren't careful. So don't go this route just because you want to tinker. I would advise your time is worth your money and you should be spending it on growing your business. But there's nothing wrong with this path. Again, if you know and you trust yourself more, then go for it. But I would advise this option. This is the third crowd of people. They're typically small to medium-sized businesses. They have high traffic blogs and companies looking for specialized enterprise WordPress hosting. So this crowd realizes that managed WordPress hosting is a good investment, and because it saves them manpower, time, and usually offers better performance since it's fine-tuned for the CMS. Plans for managed WordPress hosting typically range anywhere from $25 to $150 a month or more, depending on the size of your site and needs. And you do have to know when you're taking on a client. There's kind of a place where I started, I have like, I think it's over 21 questions. But anyway, I always ask my clients these questions because that is going to help me learn about their site and whether or not, what size of a plan I'm going to look for if I have to provide their hosting. Let's see, where am I? Some of the popular WordPress hosts you are probably familiar with are like, you see WP Engine, Flywheel, Kinsta, Pantheon, and Nexus. Now, just because we separated these people into 3 different groups doesn't mean it's necessarily always the right way to go. So do your research to make the right choice for your business. Perhaps you start with the DIY method and upgrade to managed hosting after you grow. Again, it's just however you want to work. I would say research is good. Research is definitely good, but definitely stay away from shared hosting. If you get anything out of this, stay away from shared hosting. So invest in managed hosting to begin with and focus all your efforts on growing your business. So there's no right or wrong path, but just let me share with you 9 reasons, these 9 reasons why managed WordPress hosting can benefit you. So we've already talked about superior support. Most of them are optimized for high performance. And this is my favorite one. I think all of them, I shouldn't use the word most, but all of them are going to have strategically located data centers for global reach. They're going to provide automatic backups for you. One-click staging environments is really important. I talk about this a lot. Of course, they're developer friendly. When I say developer friendly, people like me who have worked for companies, enterprise corporations, where we have to go through, you know, a dev environment, staging environment, and a live production, what we call production environment. So these are all important to us, and we want to be able to see that type of workflow. And of course, security is taken very seriously on these. In fact, if you do choose a managed WordPress hosting, check with them what security they provide, because all of these plugins that we put in on the websites you may not need, because it's already provided for these hosting people. Excuse me, one second. They also are built with scalability in mind, and they have premium DNS, which is reliable and has faster lookup times. So, excuse me, let me clear my voice just a little bit. Okay, so now I'm going to do a live demo. And Carrie, how are we doing on time? I went through that fast enough, I hope. And so we're going to do a live demo. And these are the 3 things that I'm going to work on. And I have what I'm going to show you is my server setup. It's kind of like a DIY, but not totally, because I don't really care. I try not to host unless I have to. That's what I should say. But I have what is called a reseller hosting account, so I can actually resell my hosting environment if I want to. And I do. I have a few clients on it, and so I'm going to show you how I would set up one of my clients. If you do a managed WordPress hosting, it'd be a lot easier. You don't have to do any of this actually. And then I'm going to go through the setup of my default WordPress Elementor site. And then I'm going to show you how easy it is to clone that starter site to a new website. Okay?
Okay.
So let me, do I want to stop sharing, or let me see what I got to do. Sorry, I need to figure out screens here. Oh, I need this over here.
Sharon, while you're doing that, I just wanted to interject really quick.
Uh-huh.
You know, one thing that I find is a nice hybrid that I kind of shifted to. I had a reseller hosting situation, and for a while, well, I actually used to run my own servers at one point, like 20 years ago.
I
But
did too, yeah.
Cloudways is kind of an interesting hybrid because
Yep.
it's managed in some aspects, but not in others. And the
Yes.
others where it's not so managed are areas that, you know, you kind of want to tinker with anyway. So that's just an interesting thing. And you can kind of pick where that's hosted, whether it's hosted at like DigitalOcean data centers, or using Amazon, or a bunch of different options.
Yeah, I was going to mention DigitalOcean, and I think Cloudways was the first thing I looked at. And Amazon, I've played with Amazon a little bit, getting on the cloud, I guess. I thought, okay, I should start doing that. But my first experience, which was, I think, on Cloudways, was not, well, I don't want to say it was good or bad. I just want to say it made me tinker too long. And I'm at the state where I don't want to tinker too long. If I can't figure it out and do it right then and
Oh,
now.
absolutely. There is a learning curve to it. You can accidentally delete your server or something. Like there's some bad things, but what they do is they kind of provide, you're really paying for their management services. They're not really a hosting company per se. You're kind of
Right.
And when you do learn it, there are some good things that also enable, like some of the cloning that you're talking about and everything that is nice. But it's interesting because you have full control over a lot of aspects that you don't in some other environments. But I know some people have had bad experiences too.
Yeah, and I don't want to say my experience is bad. I probably figured it out if I played with it long enough. I just didn't want to. So that's, again, where you have to do your research. I know everything's going to the cloud. I just want to understand the cloud a lot more than I do. I mean, I put a lot of stuff on the cloud myself. I do everything on Google Storage. I also use AWS for my personal storage. So, you know, I am on the cloud. And I think my Pantheon stuff is on the cloud too. So it was just a lot easier. Can y'all see my screen?
Yes, we can.
My window?
At least I can.
Okay, good.
Mhm.
So I just wanted to show you the links that I had mentioned. This is the Apache Friends for the Mac users, although it says for Windows on here. You got Windows, Linux, and the OS environments here. So even though I told you to go to the XAMPP user or whatever, I'm trying to get this out of my way. And here's the coolest guides on the planet that I was telling you about. And Carrie, I don't know if you keep up with links, but I can either send you these or give them to you later. I don't know what you want me to do. And here's the WAMP server.
Yeah, you can send them to me. That would be fine.
Okay. And then I mentioned, remember I told you guys you needed to learn how to set up your own virtual hosts. And even though this document is dated 2014, it's still a good document. So, and this is only, again, if you want to do your own thing on your local environment. Okay. So now, hold on, I need one more thing. So I know my steps. I don't want to skip anything. Okay, so my reseller server is with A2 hosting. I'm not trying to promote them or anything. I don't even though I should do affiliate stuff, I just don't take the time to do it. But where I am going to start here, normally I have to create a client. So this is just a list. I would go through creating good client and setting them up. And this is just the screen that I go through. And I have some preset packages here already defined how I want to set up their WordPress. So because I've worked with servers before, I know how to kind of distribute, because I'm given so much space, and I can distribute my space, in which these packages I've assigned a certain amount of space to each one of these. So for our demo, I have a site called WP Starter Pro, and I'm going to just go to that control panel. And the reason why I just left it here, because once the site's created, the SSL has to get assigned, and it takes a little time. So what I want to do now is check the status of the SSL, because it automatically just does it. Once I create the site where I first showed you, it takes some time for the SSL to get installed. So I've got the green go ahead. So everything I need is ready. So I'm just going to go back to my control panel. And I want also to check something before I start installing WordPress. And what I want to check is my PHP version. And so I have the ability to assign the version I want to work with on my websites. And I try to always do the latest version, which right now the latest version is 7.8, but as you can see, we are only up to 7.4 on this server, which is fine. I think, has anybody done the latest WordPress 5.6 update? It's set up, part of its update is to start working with PHP 8. So just so y'all know, if you haven't read what's in the update stuff. Okay, so so checked my SSL and I've checked my PHP, so I'm ready to install WordPress.
Sharon, I have a question.
Uh-huh.
Should we go? Can you go back to the PHP portion, please? Right there.
What do you want? Oh, do you want to see
Okay.
what's checked on here?
Yeah.
So this is also something too. If you, I guess if you are doing a lot of PHP programming or something and you have a certain package you need, you can check here. Normally the default checks are fine for me. I do some, but most of my coding is for WooCommerce. And unless I see something specific in the WooCommerce that they need a specific package, I don't deviate from the default PHP here.
But important is the main cache and the OP cache also to be active, right?
Yeah. Well, again, this is the default. Which other cache did you say? The mem? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if they're checked, they're
Yeah, but
defaults. Yes.
certain providers, hosting companies don't have that checked by
See,
default.
and that's exactly why you don't want to go with them. So these and those providers are mostly the shared hosting providers.
Right.
Your managed hosting providers that I was telling you about, they're going to be set up to streamline to work with WordPress. That's why I tell you to go with them. I wouldn't advise to go, to choose them for no other reason. But yeah, and they will work with you too on your setup. So if you have a specific version or something you need to work with. Okay, so I'm going to do a regular WordPress installation. And so this is my screen that I see. Most of you probably won't even see this because when you get to manage WordPress, it's going to already have the WordPress installed for you. You might have to choose a few options, but that's about it, I think. I'm not doing a multi-site, so I'm not going to check that. You're not going to see my password. So it gives me an opportunity to install some plugins here. The only one I have installed with this installation is limit login attempts. And then I usually expand the advanced options. I normally don't accept the default database, what it gives me, but I also base this on what client I try to come up with something creative for the client that I'm working with. And since this is just a starter, I'm just going to put, what am I going to put here? Actually, I'm just going to put 00 there. And we'll leave the prefix. But I also don't allow a lot of auto upgrades. I know people do it to be more convenient and stuff, but as you know, if this is a production site, you don't want anything to auto upgrade on you. But this isn't a production, it's our starter template. And but we do want to treat it, because we are copying it, we want to treat it like it's going to be based on what we're going to use for our clients. So I don't want this to auto upgrade. I don't want it to upgrade anything, but I do want to set up the backup. So this is going to be my first backup option here, is in this setup. I kind of have I think 3 by the time I'm done. So default is in a location, and I can show you that too, but I know where the default location is. So I never really deviate from that. And I usually set this to back up once a day, and I do 2 rotations in here. And I usually send install. So just click install, and it takes all that and just walks. Oh, site description. Kill me now. Let's see. I hate being creative when I don't have something in mind. Here we go. Wait, oh no. Sometimes when it kicks you out, it doesn't keep your settings, so you might just want to go back through and check everything. If you had to do this, like I said, you probably won't have to worry about anything like this. This is the hardest, or not even hard, but this is just a step that I take, again, just because I have the knowledge. And okay, so we've got our default site. So usually what I do is just go through and do a few, if you want to call it customizing, but first of all, doing all of the generic setup things, like first deleting any unused themes. As you notice, now we have 2021 in the latest WordPress. So I'm gonna delete the 2019, and I'm also going to delete the 2020 now. And then I am going to add the thing that I use the most, or I start with, is the hello theme.
And we can mention that the hello theme is actually a theme created by Elementor for Elementor.
Yes. Yep. See, it's by Elementor. So I install this, and then I also do my child theme, which is also from Elementor. But you have to download that. And I have that saved. Okay, so now I have my active theme, which is hello, and then my child theme already. So I've got those 2 installed, and then your backup. So that's why you always leave one backup in here in case you have to go back. Now, this is my favorite part, is all the plugins that I think I have to install. How many spend a day or more working on installing plugins? There's this nice little tool called WP Core, and you can create a collection. Well, the free version, you can create up to 2 collections. I've only used 1, and I just call it my core plugins. And you can't put any pro versions in here because of licensing, but you can put all of your basic, like what I've done is my basic install. So what you do is I made a collection, and I've called it my core plugins, and I've added all of my core plugins into here that I like to start a website. So it's kind of what I call my basic setup. And WP Core has a key that you are going to use. And so first I'm going to go to plugins. Oh, I want to delete a couple of things. So hold on 1 second. let me get rid of the stuff I don't want to keep. Okay. And WP Core is a free one. So you just find the plugin manager and you install that. And you activate it. And you just add your key and you save it. And now it has all of my plugins, and I'm just going to begin installing. And a lot of times, actually, I do check to make sure I want to install all of them at once. Because sometimes, especially with Elementor, you run into some issues. So I usually uncheck the ones that I don't want installed with this. And that's just from experience, I have to say. The only reason why I know that happens is because it has happened. So this is going to run through that. And okay, did I install? Is it doing anything? No, it's not doing anything. So let's do this again. Why? So I must have forgot to do something. Oh, and the other thing is also check when you're creating a collection in WP Core, if you choose to go that route, make sure you avoid installing things like duplicates. Like I started with one version of Google Analytics, but I've changed to a different version. So before you add anything, make sure you're not duplicating something, especially something like Google Analytics, because if you install 2 different plugins, but they're for the same thing, that can cause conflicts as well. So let me just make sure. Yep. And I did my install. That's what I forgot. Okay, now it's doing the install, and now both of my cats are awake. You can walk away, go make yourself a drink, have a little combo on the telephone, or do some text messaging or whatever.
This is horrible.
Eat dinner. So once it gets through, you can return, of course, because I didn't install everything. So remember that. And I have these 3 left. So and these are going to be fine to install together.
Sharon, this is Carrie. Do you have any thoughts on the upper limit of the number of plugins that a website could reasonably manage?
A website? So how,
Yeah.
like, so, okay, so the story I was telling you about my customer that I took on, and I felt so hard. So I think when I took them on, they had like over 50 something plugins. Jeez. Which I have to say, once I cleaned them up, 20 of them they did not need. So I'm sure they were very happy leaving whoever they were working with. I do know who they were working with, but I don't want to say. But anyway, so I don't have I guess a set number, but I do try to work with as little as possible. I try to just cover or use things that I know that I like to use, and I don't add on. Like I think a lot of people have a set of plugins. Like for instance, in my Elementor group, you notice that I just put in Elementor, and of course I'm going to put in Elementor Pro, and then there was one called granular controls. So that's my base Elementor starter. There's, as you know, all kinds of plugins for Elementor, and you could go crazy adding every one of them in. But I don't add them in unless I'm actually going to use them, and it has to be the majority. If I can't find it in Elementor Pro, I try to have a good reason, because most of those, are going to cost money, and I do try to save my clients money. My clients pay me a lot of money to do their website, but I'm not trying to add, a lot of unnecessary things to make more money. So I do try to.
Uh-oh.
We lost our presenter.
Let's see.
He'll dial back in.
Well,
hopefully she'll be able to get back. So hopefully we'll just give her a chance to get back on. Have any of you ever, I think a couple of you might have mentioned that you have had set up starter sites. Guy, did you say that you had done that?
I mean, I have sort of a standard set of plugins I start with, and then to your question, some plugins there's a few plugins I think I have while I'm building, and then by the time I deploy it live and hand it to a client, some of them, once I'm done with the development, there's some of those plugins that don't need to stay.
Hey, sorry.
All right.
In Galveston, this happens all the time. They just drop your internet like.
Uh-oh. Well, we waited for you.
Thanks. I was freaking out. I'm like, and then I looked at my internet. I'm like, oh yeah, my internet dropped. Yeah, that's great. I think I left off telling you, I try to stick to 25 to 30, but I have hit more doing WooCommerce sites. So while I can't give you a definitive number, I think that if you just try to not throw the whole kitchen sink in there, and just be very selective with what you're working with, because we all know this causes performance issues, and we are working with a lot of performance and lead times, and I know some clients that just bitch about that all the time. But it just depends on what your clients want. So. All right, let me get back to sharing my screen again. Hopefully nothing. Are you still recording? I'm sorry about that.
Oh yeah, we're recording.
Okay, I didn't know if I booted it off or something, but let me get back.
We're in good shape.
Okay. So get back to my screen. Okay, now I gotta figure out which screen I'm on. I'll get back to my setup. Hold on, let me stop just a second. Let me get my things set up again. Okay, so we're there. Okay, and here. Perfect. Okay. Okay. All right. Can everybody see me now? See my screen?
Yes.
Okay, good. I apologize for dropping. That's the first time it's happened to me on a presentation, so I guess I'm doing good. So we've got all our plugins activated now. And I don't know who asked the question about the plugins, but I hope that satisfactorily answered your question.
Sure.
Okay. And now I want to get my Elementor. Okay, I think something happened when it kicked me out because I don't see my Elementor. Why is my Elementor not on here? Let me refresh here. Are you kidding me? Oh, I have to activate it. Yeah, once they're installed, you do have to activate them. All right, let's see. There we go. I was wondering where everything was going to go. Okay. Get rid of some of this stuff. All right. There's this one plugin that I use that I like to organize everything. I am very anal about organization. So I do a little bit of organizing. And again, it just depends on what I'm working with. A lot of clients don't blog, so I usually move the comments down. I use things that I don't use or won't be used. I just move out of the way to the lowest part of the menu. And then the most used things I usually try to put at the top. And let's see. Ow, oh, I'm so sorry. My cat just bit me. She wants to be fed. That's when she bites. Let's slice that. No, hold on. Go lay down. All right, let's see. So this is called Admin Menu Editor. If any of you haven't seen this, and it does have a pro version, and the pro version, if you have, if you want to create roles, like if you have specific roles, like you know, you have an editor and your user and you have subscribers. If you want to assign certain menus to a specific role, you can do that. I've only used that maybe once or twice. I really haven't had to use it very often. A lot of my clients don't update their sites. They have me do it. And when I do it, I have a plan. So if you guys don't offer website care plans, that's a way to make money. I would definitely look into that if you provide that. But, so what I've done is I keep a lot of my security down at the bottom, and typically in this setup, what I'm going to do at kind of at the end of when we're done is I usually deactivate the security until I know that I'm actually going to be using it. So I keep them installed, but again, it's going to be based on whether or not, you know, I have to host them, or if they have their own hosting. And if they have their own hosting, I do evaluate it, making sure whether or not, you know, it's a plan I approve of. But so now you can see that I have a more organized menu to work with. I try to keep things together that, you know, aren't going to be used a lot. Sorry, baby. And but the most common are going to be up towards the top. So I have that. I've activated. So I've got to go to Elementor, do some stuff in Elementor. So I use for my legal pages, I use WP Auto Terms. So I publish my legal pages through there. So I make sure that's included in my post types. And then in granular controls, I use this exit bar, set that, and I need to get my license here, and I don't want to do that. Hate it when it does that. Okay, where's the license thing? Where does it do that? Here.
Sharon, can you explain what each of those plugins is used for? Not familiar
No.
with any of them. Just that.
Which
No,
one?
I mean let's say just explain these plugins for this and just.
Oh, okay.
Explaining.
Oh, sure. Let me go through my plugins. So accessibility by userway, it's going to put on the site
That's for
that,
accessibility.
yeah, that accessibility users to change things if they need to on your website. The admin menu editor I just showed you, all-in-one SEO. I think you guys know what that is.
Okay.
Now, this may change. Is one of my favorites because if you read a lot about Elementor and Yoast, Yoast has recently partnered with Elementor to start doing SEO in there in with the Elementor. I have not covered that a lot lately because I've been really busy, but that's on my list of things to do. So depending on how well that works, I may be able to get rid of that plugin. So again, less is better. Anti-spam bee I've been using forever. I've never been disappointed with it, but it's an anti-spam plugin. I would say it doesn't work totally 100% in because I do get some forms every once in a while that are bogus. It just depends. Async JS and CSS, this allows me to it's kind of a load time thing. It helps me with loading things on, takes the JavaScript and CSS and helps me with my metrics. That's all that does really. Again, security. I have 3 that I do install. It's Bulletproof and Security, the Loganizer, and then Security. Those are 3 that I usually use. I don't usually need all of them. Again, it depends on what server, what the hosting provides. So be careful with security because you don't want to replicate that if it's already provided. And some of your good managed hostings programs are already going to have that, and they should have an outline or some kind of document that you can read to help you understand what they do provide. Cache, they also may provide that, or their own plugin. So check on those things too. Content freeze, this is just something if I'm working with a client, sometimes I just delete this, but if I'm working with a client that allows me to lock some content and is for a given period of time, again, it's just something I use based on what clients want. If I know that I'm not going to be using that, the client's going to be updating their content, then it's probably one of those that I'll be deleting. This is a new one. The dashboard welcome for Elementor. Actually, I don't know why I put this in. I think I went crazy one day and just added it. So I should probably be getting rid of this because I have my own. I use this white label CMS. I've been using it for a long time. I have everything set up in it. So so we are going to actually delete this one. I hate when they want.
Just put a period and that's it.
Yeah, I hate when they want me to say something. I'm like, I just don't want to use it. But if you don't know don't tell me. Okay, I heard that same beep last time I dropped off, so I'm sorry. That's why I was checking. Like, don't tell me it happened again. I attended a session that they created that plugin, so I think that's why I added it. I need to remind myself to take it out, but I have my own white label. So a duplicate page, this helps you. You can duplicate posts if you ever. I find it sometimes I create some post types, either a page or a post, and I just want to duplicate and just get rid of the content. It's a lot easier for me to do that than having to redo a whole page. Of course, you know what Elementor is. Envato Elements, I use that if I'm designing from scratch. A lot of Envato has some additional blocks and templates that are really nice to use. So I keep that in to use that. If I'm not designing and I've already got a design from client, I can probably get rid of that plugin. See, fave icon, again, this just generates a fave icon. I'm trying to remember. Oh, okay, because I quit using, that's a new one, because I quit using, I used to have an all-in-one fave icon. I actually liked that one, so I don't know why I went to this one, but anyway. The cookies consents part of your legal pages, so this helps me generate a cookie banner. The granular controls is an Elementor thing. It actually turns on a couple controls. It also helps with parallax and some accordions. It's just a few things, and it also puts the what I call the two tips, but they're called something else. But the controls that go on the Elementor blocks. If you get to where you only get the pencil, you don't have the controls. So that's where this comes in.
Sharon, I just want to say you might want to keep an eye on that one. I was Googling that up when I saw it in there earlier, and it hasn't been updated for a few years now. And it seems like it might be abandoned. And one of the people in the little support forum and the at WordPress, they mentioned that file got hacked on their site, and they're not sure if it's totally secure. So this might be just one to keep an eye on.
Okay. So hide dashboard notifications. Again, this is kind of a white label thing. I don't want my clients seeing all these notifications to update stuff. So that helps get rid of that. Loginizer, security. Manage WP, I'm going to tell you what that is in just a minute. Regenerate thumbnails. Obviously, that does what it does. Smush is just another help reducing the image file sizes. Already told y'all about security, the white label. I'm going to tell y'all about that. And the WP auto terms, I told you that helps create my my terms and conditions, disclaimers, all those legal pages. That's what I use. WP 101 video tutorials. What that does is it includes some video tutorials, but it is a purchased thing. You have to have an API key. So this, again, I don't keep it unless my clients pay for it. So it's kind of an offering. If they really want to learn WordPress, I give them these WordPress videos. It's WP 101. That's what that is. So I think that was almost at the end there. And WP Core, now that we've got everything in there, I'm not going to do it now, but in my process, I do end up deleting that after I'm done with everything. So that's just to start off. And then the WP front scroll top, that actually allows me to put an arrow to scroll to the top of the website. Okay, so that covers all of the basics.
Just a note, Sharon, we're
got about 15 minutes left.
Oh, are you kidding? I'm not even halfway through. So I'm gonna have to really rush. I don't really need to know why I can't get my, let's see, let's get, okay, wait. I need to install my Elementor Pro. That's what I need to do. Okay, I hear that beep again. Is somebody, okay, WordPress. Sure. Okay. I'm trying to do this fast, so I'm not even doing what I need to be doing. So where is my, here it is. Okay. Even though, you could click on that, right? Normally, I use my, it depends on several things to use my version of the license. I do try to get my clients to buy their own version, but it just depends, I think. Because, you know, you have a limitation now on how many sites. So I'm kind of picky about how many sites I've, but we're going to activate this. So it could change. But, all right. Back to my notes. And okay, so we are, let's see where we are. Got our license, and I also have a snippet that I use, some default snippets, CSS, that I put in for Elementor. It's my base. I'm going to rush through this, guys, because like, unless you guys just want to hang in there.
That looked like code from Dave Foy.
Yeah,
where you got
you
it?
know Dave. Yes, I took a class.
Yeah.
That,
Yeah.
but I've updated a lot of it though, depending on you know, versions and
Right.
what I've had. So I've updated a lot. So I've started with that base, and I just keep adding to it. So it's really great. But that did save a lot of.
Or where is it, or what is it?
I'm sorry, what was that?
It probably controls a bunch of things, but where is that from originally?
So Dave Foy had a class.
No stress WordPress.
Like, yeah, that's what it was. No stress WordPress. So, and it had a lot of, you know, time savers and tips and stuff, and I just loved it. And he had given us this base CSS. So I've just taken over that and just keep incorporating some minor changes depending on, you know, how much Elementor updates. Okay. So now it's just some cleanup. I'm going to come in here and clean up some stuff and do all of the things that we're supposed to do. Hopefully I can do this really quickly and then just talk to you guys about and then I'll should have done that while I was there. I'm going to create the home page, and I'm going to create a blog page. Again, you don't know what your client's going to need, but remember, this is just a base setup. So you're just going to try to do as much as possible. And here, I think I can go down. So this is I created my white label stuff. I'm trying to remember. And it allows me to do a couple of things. Sorry. Usually I think I can talk while I work, but don't do that often. You get a couple of things in here, and then
So was that text file you uploaded for white label? Is that
Mhm.
just basically a white label template that you've already created that you use again as well?
yes. So of course I want to see that it did a white label. It doesn't look like it did everything. It did some of it, but it didn't do everything. Let's see. Yeah. Okay. So what it did, yep. Then some of it, but well, it didn't pull in what I wanted. I don't know why. Did I pull in the JSON file? I thought that's what I pulled in. Go back, because this is not, that's my old one. Yeah, I took the bottom one. Yeah, this one's better. Okay. Yeah. Okay, good. So dashboard should, yes. There we go. Okay. So what this does, it creates a white label for me. So I'm already set up. It removes the WordPress logo and puts my logo here in the column. It also puts it down in the footer and gives me a couple other things. I can also create a dashboard, and I just usually it's supposed to clear all this stuff out, but sometimes it doesn't. Oh, I don't even want that. So I'm gonna go back and check why. Dashboard. Don't make it full width. Let's see. I want to do menus, and so everything should be there. So there's some options that if you want to hide the help boxes and screen options, a lot of times, you know, unless you are training them on, so my dashboard isn't showing up, but I'm not going to mess with that right now. So anyway, so I want to get rid of mostly everything that, you know, causes issues while you're trying to develop. I mean, it really doesn't cause issues, just in the way. So let me see where I'm at. So we got that. Okay, now I just need to go through the WordPress settings and, you know, get all that set up. And I just have a couple of things to change here, and then we can get past. Not in Africa. Chicago, and I usually change mine to Sunday. So there, and we need to set our static pages. And for now, I always set this to discourage searches since I'm on my own server. So you guys, if you do check that, remember when you launch a site to uncheck it. So you should have a checklist before launching anyway. And then let's see. Discussions, I usually just say I must manually approve comments, and I think I unchecked that. And then if you didn't know this, in the media, I always uncheck the organize because this also saves time from reloading the server. Every time you organize your media files, that means it's another hit to the server again. So I usually uncheck that as well. And then I set the permalinks. And then and I'm just going to enable the scroll top. I'm not going to style it or any, well, I'm just going to set what I usually set to default, but I'm not going to style it per colors or anything because that again is going to be based on my client. So now, since I'm kind of mostly set up, I'm going to go back to my plugins. Carrie, are we having people drop off yet?
No, most everybody's hung in there with you.
I'm so sorry.
No problem.
So I'm going to delete this WP core, and then, because I don't need that anymore. And I am going to deactivate just the bulletproof and the security ones, because I still want the login one to work while I'm developing. Okay. Now, I told you I would tell you what Manage WP does for me. Since I work on several websites at a time, or I have several websites to manage, there's a tool called Manage WP that allows me to have a lot of, to see all my websites that I need to manage in one place. And I can access them through Manage WP. So I usually connect my websites with Manage WP, and forgot WP Starter Pro. Sorry, I don't memorize everything. I have a file for that. Or the other thing that I usually do, because I don't memorize everything, is use the connection key. There is a connection key in the plugin. If I can find it. You just click on this and you copy the connection key. The only reason why I'm not using it right now, because if I don't put in this, it's going to assume my email address is the username. So that's why I want to set that up so that it gets my username in there. Otherwise, it's gonna, if I try to log in from Manage WP, it's gonna kick me out and tell me we couldn't find you. So now I have the website connected, and I have a dashboard for my starter template. Now here's the other backup I was telling you about. So I already created a backup on the server daily, right? So WP, Manage WP has a free version, which is monthly. So I just usually activate this on a monthly schedule. That's the default. It's a monthly schedule. And I do use Manage WP for some sites backup as a secondary backup. Am I losing somebody? But it costs you money, but not a lot. I mean, for the sites that I'm hosting, I barely pay $5 a month for this. So, but it depends on the sites and how I'm managing them and what I need extra. So I have a few websites. I know I do additional backups for this site, and I do them for this site, and of course my own personal sites too, and my scuba club. So, but they're like add-ins, and it actually shows you what the add-ons are. So and what your cost is going to be. So it's really not that expensive if you can use it. But it's a good tool because I can see when I need to update some, although I'm hoping, I just did a lot of updates today, so I hate seeing this. I think I just need to refresh. That's why I haven't done it. So it's a really great tool. I'm not going to go into it a lot, but it's also what I'm going to use to show you how I can, now that I have everything set up, but I just want to double check, make sure I did everything. So I think that's it for our starter build. And I'm getting an echo. Do you have an echo, Carrie?
Yeah, I think it's coming from Brian's phone. I think he had to log on with his phone, and I muted it.
Okay. And I hate that my dashboard didn't come up, so I have to look into but normally my dashboard, if I wasn't in a rush, I would figure out why my dashboard didn't come up. But you can see how everything is kind of clean. But because I'm an admin, I'm going to still see some notices and stuff. But if you were a regular user, you wouldn't see a lot of those notices that you get. So I am going to close the template, and you see here my starter template is here, and I can actually assign clients to this, but this is going to go under my name obviously, and it's a dev site, and I can assign Google Analytics to the site, and I'm not going to do that right now either, but I can go to a site's dashboard and kind of see what state it's in. If I have it on the monitoring, it will tell me. It actually will send me an email, or if I set up my text message, it'll send me a text message if something goes down. So again, it depends on what client I'm working with, if I'm hosting it, or if my managed WordPress host, that I usually set that up with my managed WordPress host. So we've got a starter template, but let's say that now I have a new client and I'm ready to use that template. And what I'm going to do, so that I don't have to create another website, I have a WordPress lab, and I am going to take that website and notice how I can, oh, see, here's what my dashboard looks like. So, so I've got this website. This is kind of like my experimental website and stuff. But let's say that this is my new customer website. So there, I'm going to add a plugin in here. Oh, I think it's a free one. Yeah, WP Reset. Does anybody use that? WP Reset?
Mm-mm.
Nobody's used WP Reset?
I have once.
Love it. Love WP Reset.
When all else fails.
Yep. When all else fails. Okay, so I'm just going to knock all of this out. There is a pro version in here, but I'm not going to buy the pro version. I am just going to tell this thing I want to. I don't want any of this really. Let's see, type reset. I don't want to reactivate anything really. Reactivate, yeah, okay. You can clean out.
So that just blows it away to just a basic WordPress install?
Yep.
Okay.
But see, none of these plugins are active except for WP Reset now. See, so that's my only active. So basically, I can just get rid of all these plugins. Oops. Hold on. Yeah, let's see. Let's go there. And you notice that everything is back to regular WordPress. So
Right.
in a normal site, if you got to where you're like, oh crap, this is just a mess. I just want to get rid of it. But you don't want to do a reinstall of WordPress. You don't want to go through all of that again. So you just get your WP Reset plugin and do what I just did, and you've got a whole new ball game. All right, delete that so we have nothing. So I'm going to go back to Manage WP. Now, there is a little, honey, wait, I will feed you in like 15 minutes. There is one thing you have to do because it's in your backup area to do a clone. That's what we're going to do is a clone. We want to clone our starter template to our new client. But as you can see, I don't have that option here. Well, actually I do. Normally I don't because I'm supposed to pay for it, but let me see. Yeah. So if I hit it, all I have to do is click on buy this add-on and activate it. But notice I'm not getting charged for anything. It's basically just activating it. And once I'm done cloning, I can go and change that back to a monthly. So what it does is it sets my schedule to daily. See, my backup schedule is changed to daily now. So once I'm done cloning, I'm going to be done with that. So I just change it back if it's a site that I don't pay for backup. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to tell it, well, create a new backup, because one, I know that it just got in to Manage WP and I don't have a backup of it yet. So I'm going to tell it to create a backup for this website. And then I'm going to tell it, well, I want it to clone to an existing website that I have in Manage WP. So I'm going to look for our WordPress lab. And that's what I'm going to keep everything else the way that it is. And I'm just going to tell it to clone. And again, you could probably walk away, fix a cup of coffee, fix a drink, chat with somebody, check your email. It depends on, well, since we don't have a lot of data and we don't have a WooCommerce database or products in here, this should go pretty quickly. So yeah, see, Did not get a good valid response. Why would you not do that? Whoa. Sometimes you get errors. I haven't even seen this error. Let's see. So it's telling me the clone failed, but you never know. Sometimes it gives me this message and it actually works. So let's see what happened here. I hate when it does that too. Oh, it's actually here. So the plugin. So something happened. And I don't want to sit here and twiddle with it, but generally, oh, I know why. Did one thing. I should.
We need the helper plugin.
Yep, I need my helper plugin. That's why it couldn't connect. So yeah, don't delete that one. You have to leave the connection in there. So yeah, I was in a hurry. That's why that happened.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to do the other way I told y'all, but it's still going to stop me and tell me, ah, da, 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 da. So it should reconnect very quickly. All right, so we're connected again. I'm going to have to look up this password. I can't remember it. So I'm just going to go out and start that clone again. I'm going to look up the password. So I don't need to create the backup again because we already have a backup now. So that's one step I'm not going to have to do. Hopefully. Let me see. Let's go back just a second. Let me see. Yeah. So we've got a backup already. So it's going to create that clone from that backup. And while it's doing that, oh, sorry. I need to get a password because I don't know that one. Oh, come on. Yeah, see, it's taking a little bit longer. The clone usually takes a little bit longer than, that's when you know it's really working. It does it. If it goes out really fast like that last one did, then we're in trouble. My WP lab. So to do a clone, all you need on the client site is a fresh install of WordPress and the Managed WP plugin if you're going to do it through Managed WP. There are plugins, I think the migration plugins, people have used all-in-one migration or whatever. I have used Managed WP ever since I've started working with WordPress. So I can't say I'm a fan of the plugins because I really haven't used them. I have used WP migration, but I always come back to Managed WP for most of my cloning, only because it's there. It's a tool I've used and I'm comfortable with it. You know, I know how to resolve a lot of issues if I have them. you know, it's a great tool. It doesn't cost a lot of money. If you can afford it, use it. If not, like I think your managed hosts, like I use Pantheon for one of my clients, and it has everything there. So that's when I do go outside managed WP, because I do everything through my managed hosts there. So, and I think WP Engine is the same way. You can just clone, you know, right from there. I have lots of friends that use WP Engine. They, you know, speak very highly of it. Flywheel, of course, WP Engine owns Flywheel now. I don't know when they're going to converge the two, but so notice that we have a successful clone, and you get all the messages from successful. So let's go over to our website, and look what we have. So you notice all of our plugins are in there. I'm even surprised that the white label went in, because sometimes that doesn't really come over very well.
Cool.
But we have everything. So now you're ready to go. And
Awesome.
I usually go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was just saying, awesome.
Yeah. So because I'm over here, obviously you need to get rid of what doesn't need to be there. Your client, you need to change the client website and all the other stuff that needs to be updated. So start from there. And I guess that brings us to Q&A. And I'm so sorry it took longer than I thought.
I think
So
some people
anyone
were asked questions during your talk. Does anybody have anything extra? Because we run about 15 minutes over. Anybody have any other questions? I'll ask the question more about managed WP, since you were using it. I used to use it, and I got away from not. I don't remember why I stopped using it. Oh, I started using GoWP to do my updates. So I didn't have to do anything. Those guys do it for me. But you know, managed WP got bought by GoDaddy.
Yes.
About a year and a half ago, and I heard a lot kinds of that. I heard that there were some problems with managed WP after GoDaddy got involved.
Not yet. Oh, I heard that too. But I personally, well, actually, let me back up. There was a period, I think, during the after the sale, where they took over, that I saw some things happening, and I was having some issues, but they were resolved very quickly. So because I did touch base with managed WP, which was Orion at the time, and told them I was having issues, and I knew it was from that sale. And of course, GoDaddy. But I was very upset when I heard GoDaddy bought them. I was like, no. But yes, there was a few issues, but I have not had any issues, knock on wood, since then.
I too use them faithfully, and I have not had any problems at all.
Yeah. So I do see a question over here. Is managed best to sell websites? Do you mean managed as in managed hosting, or you said you want to be able to build one site, clone it, and sell it to other people with e-commerce? Yeah, managed hosting. Yeah, I think Kerry was saying he does the same thing. He's cloning in WP Engine.
Right.
So I think if you have an affiliate, well, excuse me, back up. Affiliate is selling hosting, but if you want to host the website, and I'm not familiar with WP Engine, so you would have to see if they have a reseller option.
Well, you can just buy. I use WP Engine, and I sell hosting, and they have different tiers of
there you go. That's what
hosting plans.
For. Yeah.
And I have like right now I think I have 30
sites in my plan,
Mhm.
and I was grandfathered in because I've been with them so long. So I pay less than I paid I think I paid $290 a month, so it's less than $10 a site, and I give the people, I tell my clients, because I worked with WP Engine so long, and it's just rock solid, that any site I build or that I work on or that I maintain, it needs to be on WP Engine.
Mhm.
And so either I host it for them, that they pay me, and I charge them the same as WP Engine, just because it's easier for me if it's in my account to deal with it. Or they can get hosting with WP Engine, and then I have an affiliate account. So
Yeah.
but yeah, with WP Engine, I have an install in WP Engine called Starter Site, and when I start another site, I just copy it right over to that site inside of WP Engine. So it's really easy.
Yeah, be careful with the word copy, because if you copy, you're not going to get the database. So cloning allows you to do the database as well. So be careful.
Well, you have that option. It'll ask you, do you want the include the database as default? And yeah, it's part of that.
Yeah,
so.
I just wanted to make sure, because I know the word copy means, oh, I got everything. But yeah, it means different when you're cloning a site. You want to make sure you have the files and the database.
Yeah.
JJ was saying that he uses managed WP, so good for you, JJ.
Anybody have any other questions?
Well, I hope you got some information from that. I don't, I hope I didn't bore all of you.
No, I got a lot more than I expected, to tell you the truth. So I guess it's about time to wrap it up. We'll be meeting again next month.
Oh my God,
January
new year.
14th. Yeah. It's always the second Thursday of the month. So if you lose track of the date, it's always the second Thursday of the month. And we're going to continue to meet online until the situation warrants otherwise. And just want to say thank you so much, Sharon, for all your information.
You're welcome, and I appreciate you having me with you.
Yep, and I think we got a lot out of it, and we have been recording it, and I'll post that up in the next 24 to 48 hours, and I'll send out a link to that to everybody that RSVP'd. Even the people that didn't get a chance to attend will be able to see it, and we'll be good to go. So unless somebody else has anything, I think it's time to say good night, sign off, and thanks again, Sharon. We appreciate it. Thank you
You're
so
welcome.
much.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you very
Good
much.
night, everyone.
Thank you so much.
Thank you
Bye.
very much.
Thank you, Sharon.
Thank you. It was great.
Hi, Oscar.